Hi there, I'm Martin Gunnison, and today I'm going to show you a little bit about the Burt rig and how it's structured from a rigging perspective. So when you come in, you will find this big controller here, the global underscore controller. That just positions the rig in the scene. You can use this for scaling and rotation and all of that. It also holds some important attributes like the visibility of the geometry, the way to kind of lock the geometry. You shouldn't really need to mess with this, but if you want to, you can unlock it here. Database is more for me with kind of the driving forces behind the rig, which you shouldn't need to touch as well. One thing that might be interesting is the dynamics. So on this controller, you can actually enable that or not. So if you do a little timeline expression here, moving back and forth, you see that they're staying in place, but if you play the animation again, they would have some soft kind of fall off on them there. And you can also specify the time frame for when this would happen. So the main spine itself is giving you control of positioning over the various parts. All of these controllers have an offset as well. So if you want, you can always go to your pose, and you probably will have some kind of keyframe animation on this by default. So there's normally in my rig an offset controller on those ones that you can actually replace to just kind of like fudge the pose without needing to change the keyframe values on it. So yeah, those can be turned on here with the offset controller visibility on or off. In terms of the spine, I don't think there's anything here. It's kind of normal stretchy spine. You can control the volume. You can have like a bend, which I think might not be super useful in this instance. And yeah, like the volume is automatically squash and stretch, so there is ways for you to disable this as well. If you go in here and you do your volume stretch 0, you see that now when you're stretching it out, it will kind of it will not evaluate in that way. Otherwise, this value will be 1. You can actually set up and offset this as well, and kind of positioning where that would happen if you want it to be on the lower or upper section of it. So we also have things like the head controller for your main placements. You see you're getting some nice fall off there with the neck as well. You have 2 neck controllers to be able to position him nicely. And I think by default I set him up to be, yeah, it's just following the neck space. So you can control it here and choose what space you want it to target. So this way we can have it kind of staying looking in some direction. Maybe you want to look into a camera or something like that. Then we have things like the beak to control speaking, and they have some offsets as well, which could be fun. So the beak also, the base controllers of the FK chains have this kind of bend attributes that takes the whole chain and applies a rotation to all of those values. So that could be a quick way to just add a little bit of kind of twist on any given axis. Then let's move on. Let's move on to the rest of the face here. So you have this controller up here, which is controlling the main expressions. So this is giving you some nice default actions to play with, and yeah, obviously you can overshoot them in the other direction. And most of them should work pretty nicely together. If you're pushing it too far, probably you will push, but it will break at some point. But yeah, let me know, and if there's anything that you feel like is not working like it should, we can obviously make some correctives for those particular areas. Otherwise, yeah, like this is just your easy way to go in and make some poses. If you're feeling creative, you can always take these controllers as well and move them in space to maybe a bit easier positioning and kind of really shape the expressions that you want out of it. Yeah, go to town. Maybe shouldn't scale it too much. Eyes, you have your default target here. So you can make him look. That's also have different spaces here, so you can choose what you want it to look at by default. So that's maybe good. Maybe this can be parented to like different cameras to automatically have him look in those directions. Arms and legs, so they are kind of built on the same principles, except they have fingers. Or actually, he have toes as well. So you have IK on default by the legs. They have some classic foot roll attributes on here, just to be able to position those nicely. You can also, if you go into this cross here, so this is like extra attributes that are shared between the IK and the FK mode. So if you go in here, you can have the IK FK switch on and off. And there you have those. And it's separate chains, so, and separate controllers, which means that you can, like this controller here is not the same one as this. So they can have its own individual poses stored on them. And yeah, so the leg is also squash and stretch by default, and you can go in and go to the stretch multiply value, putting to 1 will turn it on, and 0 will turn it off. If you take the IK stretch further, you see that you can actually push the pose and making the leg even longer on default. So this is just controlling how much stretch should be applied before it kind of overshoots it. And you see it's kind of breaking at this point, so it is getting longer than it's supposed to, and that's controlled here on this middle controller, as you can see in the middle of the chain. So this is the same for the legs as for the arms. So you have those guys here, the posers. So the middle poser are controlling how much stretch should be applied for each section. So if we want to make this less stretchy, we can put this to a value of, say, 0.3. Just to get a little bit of deformation in it, but not too much. And yeah, your classic pole vector control. This is set for the hip by default. Let me know if there's any of those default values that you would have otherwise, and I'm happy to put it in the rig as well. Yes, you can also spread the toes. Really important details there. And getting some nice spread action there. I guess he won't have too much. We won't see his legs too much behind that desk. All right, arm is exactly the same thing there. You have a shoulder as well to kind of pushing up and down. It's the same for the legs, I forgot to say, but this guy here is just positioning the leg where you want it, so you can push it up. So that's kind of the same as doing it from the IK, and you can move this around how you want it. But it's handy to have this, and this one will work in IK and FK override. So yeah, shoulder, arm, exactly the same thing here. IK, FK, and if you come to a pose, and let's say like the wing is bended like that, you put it up, and you might want to tweak this a little bit. So you have then the middle controller here, the poser for the elbow, so you can easily repositioning him how you want it. And then you also have this middle controllers here that you can see the little circles. So here you can kind of push each section of the spine and kind of just moving it up and down. I don't think we have scale on there for now, no. Let me know if that's needed. Yeah, fingers. You have some nice default attributes here that should be handy to just get some kind of poses out of it. Getting like a grip here, grip outer, and those two values will add up to be the same as the grip itself. Swinging side to side. Some twisting going on, spread, and yeah, you have then the spread of the fingers. And if you want to spread the metacarpals as well. This is quite a cartoonish character, so that might not be needed as much as we think. But it's good to have. I think that's it in terms of the rig itself. You have some fancy deformations here on the feathers, so if you push like this controller down the chest, they should deform quite nicely as there's riding on top of the mesh. Let's see if I can just show it here. Modules. feather attachment. Yeah, so they are parented to the mesh. Nothing really that you should need to worry about. And if you're having a problem to find controllers in here, let's hide the data. So all of the controllers in the rig are available in this controller set. So this is divided by the section of the rig, and you can easily see if you want to then select the spine, select all the controllers in there, you can go right click, select set members. So that gives you access to see what's the controllers in that point. And if you want to like key then specific sections, you can hit all of them here. I think some of the, depending on how we do it, you might find keyframes on this controller here, or there will be another group that have the joints themselves are driving offsets. But that's something we will experiment and see what's the best approach. Cool. I think that's it for now. Yeah, the chains are, it's just the IK chain here. You can reposition it and dynamic will just react to parts of it. Cool, I think that's it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rig.